Well, let's read the entire psalm together, okay? Psalm 92, a psalm or song for the Sabbath day. Now, that's all we know about the history of the psalm. That we don't know the author, it's an anonymous psalmist. We simply know that this was designed to be sung on the Sabbath day, and I'll come back to that. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night, upon an instrument of 10 strings and upon the psaltery, upon the harp with a solemn sound. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the works of thy hands. O Lord, how great are thy works, and my thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither doth a fool understand this. When the wicked spring as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. For lo, thine enemies, O Lord, for lo, thine enemies shall perish, all the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Mine eyes also shall see my desire upon mine enemies, and my ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. And they shall, let me find my spot here. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing, to show that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. Man, there's a lot of great thoughts here. And this is a psalm that will truly strengthen and encourage us in the coming week or two. But I want to camp out on that one little introductory line that says, a psalm or song for the Sabbath day. So the Sabbath day in ancient Israel was the first day. It was the last day of the week, Saturday. For us, it's the first day of the week, Sunday. And why it switched, I'm not going to get into the weeds of that, but it was basically the resurrection of Jesus on the first day of the week. Christians celebrate God on the first day, but the Sabbath was was a part of the Ten Commandments, and it was a gift from God. Now, some people view the Sabbath. By the way, what is it? What is it in essence? It's a 24-hour period where all work ceases, and it's dedicated solely to rest, worship of God, thankfulness, family, and restoration. So no work, no sustaining of yourself in terms of propagating your business or working your farm, things like that. It was a day off. It was a full 24-hour period of a day off where the worship and praise of God was first. And then after that, there was feasting, there was family, there was restfulness and quiet, there was contemplation. It was a slow day, it was a quiet day. To this day, in Israel, if you go to Israel on the Sabbath, there's only certain foods they'll prepare because of the work required to prepare much more. And they pre-prepare it, and then they bring it out, reheat it, all that. But the whole country shuts down for 24 hours. And it's quiet. I mean, it is really quiet in that country on the Sabbath day. People stay in, they stay with their families, they rest, they worship. And so in modern times, number one, we've lost the idea of a Sabbath really entirely almost. I mean, American Christians, we work, all days of the week. I grew up, now, because I'm in the ministry, I guess I work every Sunday. And so my true Sabbath needs to be on another day. But But I made a commitment to the Lord as a kid that I would never work on a Sunday. So whenever I applied for jobs before I went into the ministry, I always just checked the box that I was not available on Sundays. I'm not saying that everybody should do that. I'm not saying that it's a sin. If your work periodically makes you work on a Sunday, that's not my point. I just felt it was right for me to protect a day that belongs to God. It is in the Ten Commandments that comes forward. I still believe it's right, whether it's Sunday or another day. I still believe it's right that you protect a Sabbath day, and I'll tell you why. God was our example. God worked 6 days in creation and rested on the seventh. And I won't get started on this, but those are literal days. Morning and evening was the first day. The morning and the evening was the second day. Those are not periods of time. They're not expanded gaps of long periods of time. God created the world in 6 days, literal days, and then he rested. And in that example, he was showing us, number one, his creative power, his protective power, his provision power, his ability to sustain and provide for me. And then he gave me 7 days, and he said, I want you to do all the things you need to do, your work, both your vocation and your other work, in 6 days. And I want you to make a habit of Sabbath rest, Sabbath worship and Sabbath rest. I want you to make a habit of carving out a 24-hour period where you don't work, and where you worship and you rest and you restore and you spend time with family and you spend time contemplating and clearing your mind and filling your mind with good things and thanking God for all the good blessings and good works of your life and for another week that he sustained you. And when you practice the Sabbath, when you celebrate the Sabbath, and when you see it as a gift and not an obligation, it is a tremendous, tremendous resource for your life. So why would God command this? Does he just want us to stop and worship him? Is it just what he wants? Is it all about? Well, let me start here. What God wants for you and from you is not only just what he wants, it's also what's best for you. In other words, there is no conflict between what God desires and what you need, because you were designed to be an object of God's pleasure and glory. And so when you are fulfilling God's requests, you're going to flourish. You are going to thrive. And yet God is always bent towards you in terms of, he's always thinking of your best interest. Okay, he's always functioning for you. So loving him is the best thing for you. Having a Sabbath day is the best thing for you. Having a day of rest is a gift from God. It's God saying, look, I'm going to take care of all of your work 1 day a week, and you do what you can the 6 days, and then trust it to me the seventh. Trust it to me the whole time. I get it, but really let it go on the seventh day, on the Sabbath day, or on the first day, or whatever day it is for you. 1 day a week. Give me 1 out of 7 days. Well, we're prone to wander, and we are prone to take matters into our own hands and to live for our own pleasure or our own survival. We worship our work, we worship our finances, we worship things we think sustain us instead of God. And so our work expands, and we don't feel like we can ever rest, because resting means that we're not getting something done that we need to get done. And life in ancient Israel was even harder. Survival was hard work. So taking a day off was harder then than it is now. And a lot of workaholic people find it hard to take a day off. I love to work. I love to rest as well. My struggle is in the flow of work, finding that day. I admit to having that struggle. But I win more than I lose. Okay, is that fair to say? Most weeks I get that rest. Most weeks I get that day. Some weeks I don't, but I won't let 2 or 3 or 4 weeks go by without really catching back up. And I insist the same for our staff. In fact, our staff, I've told them, you can't work here if you don't commit to taking your time away and time off and cultivating your family and your health in that way. Why? Why would I be so firm on that conviction? Well, number one, it's God's law for me, okay? And I don't keep that law out of obligation or out of fear of punishment. I keep that law because his laws are good. His laws are what's best for me. But I keep that law because it's healthy. It's joyful. It's a gift. It's God saying, rest. Remind yourself 1 24-hour period a week that you're not sustaining you. I am. Think back on all the good things I've done for you and how I've taken care of you. Think forward to who you really are, where your citizenship really is. I want God to save America and preserve America. But in the end, either way, I'm okay because this isn't my home. This world is not my home. I'm not wholly invested here. I love my country. I'm thankful for my country, but it's a temporary love. It's a fleeting, fickle, paper-thin love because this isn't really an enduring proposition. America is not heaven. America is not God's new kingdom. So as much as I love my country, and while my heart's beating, I pray and I want my country to thrive. I trust God more than I trust government, politics, military, all of it. And my truest identity, and yours if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, is that you are a citizen of heaven, and that's your first highest identity. You're a member of God's family. Anyway, your Sabbath rest is essential for your health, for your family health, for your spiritual well-being. It's essential for you to really trust God by expressing a day where you just rest and really put it in his hands. Resting is trusting. And this is 1 day a week where you say, God, I'm going to relinquish and let it go. On top of the Sabbath, 1 day a week, God also gave Israel, he gave Israel 3 weeks a year where they were to stop all of their work and feast. They were to celebrate for a week, worship, repent, worship, humble themselves, but then celebrate, feast, bring offerings, bring sacrifices, have a giant family reunion in Jerusalem and celebrate. And to make it even cooler, they were to make a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and that pilgrimage was, it could have been a day, it could have been 7 days, depending on where they were coming from. It could have been even longer. But if you were Jesus growing up, you would have come from Nazareth, which was about a 5-day journey, 6 days maybe, into Jerusalem from Nazareth in the north. And so imagine Jesus' family, Joseph and Mary, taking all their children and having to stop their work for a week to journey to Jerusalem, a week to feast, a week back, walking 2-3 miles an hour the whole time, and on top of 1 day a week. And here's Joseph, a carpenter, working with stone and kind of a masonry kind of guy and building homes and needing the work. But he had to stop working 1 day a week and 9 weeks a year. And God promised Joseph, I'll sustain you. I'll sustain your work. I'll sustain your business. I'll sustain your life while you're worshiping me. And so I would tell you a couple things by way of application. First of all, protect the Sabbath. For most of us, that's Sunday, okay? And that's a good practice. Set aside time for God, live stream or attend church, reserve your seat, whatever you can do. Set aside some time for your family, barbecue, sit outside, take a walk, muse on the things of God, meditate on the things of God, think about God's goodness and give him thanks. Throughout the day, thank him. Think about people you love, reach out to them, talk to them, to work through things, reconcile things, resolve things. Part of this pandemic for our family has been talking through some stuff that we didn't realize was kind of under the surface of our lives, and stuff that was at times combustible, and it's been healthy. It's been healthy to work through things and understand expectations and understand how we were maybe disappointing each other, or letting each other down, or sending the wrong messages to each other. I can tell you for sure my relationships are healthier because of the pandemic, and they've been forced to be so. And I thank God for that. But it was the slowdown. It was slowing down and staying put that kind of brought those things out. And the purification process of God's deeper work in our lives happens when we slow down and when we don't get too self-introspective, but we look up and let God direct the conversation. And that's really true of all the Psalms. It's the psalmist looking up and directing the inner narrative to God, letting God create that inner narrative. And so often, the narrative of our minds is just not true. It's a lie, and it starts to grow and grab a hold of us. And a Sabbath day really gets us out of those ruts of false narratives and hopeless despair, gets us back fellowshipping with our God, looking to Him, worshiping Him, restores us physically, restores us relationally, restores us spiritually in a vertical direction. So a Sabbath is a great, great gift from God. And I encourage you strongly to protect it. And then I encourage you as well to create weeks, periods in your life that you take breaks. Um, whether it's 3 or 9 would probably depend on your lifestyle, your vocation, career, and how God has allowed you to sustain yourself. But I wouldn't begrudge anybody for the downtime that God gives you, because it's going to make you better in your uptime. And that's really the principle at work here. The operative principle is God has made you a finite resource, and you cannot operate in a perpetual mode of expenditure. You cannot continue a race indefinitely. You have to pause and refuel and restore and rest and breathe and sleep, and then you can renew your strength and move forward. And the worst thing we can do is just perpetually be in motion. I told our staff last week, I got to thinking about how hard they've been working this season. And a lot of weeks it has been 7 days a week in some sense of the word. And the Lord just put on my heart for July and August. I said to our team, most people have 2 days off a week, Saturday and Sunday. I said, as a staff, we generally don't have that. And so I'm going to give all of the staff an extra day. And I said, basically, I want us to go hard Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday is our off day, and Friday is going to be, for the next 2 months, an off day. The church office is still open, but the pastoral staff, I said one of us will be on call on Friday if there's a need or an urgent crisis situation. But basically I said take 5 days and do your ministry work, take a day and do your at-home work, your yard and whatever, and spend that time with your family, and take a day and rest and restore. I think that's healthy, and it's something that I've just basically mandated. I don't know what your situation looks like. I just know that if you're going perpetually 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, you're headed for a wall. You're going to hit a wall, and the only way I know to get through that wall is to resume, number one, to take several maybe days or weeks off and catch your breath and restore, and then resume a sustainable pace. A sustainable pace. That's what Sabbath is all about. And I want to run a sustainable pace. I don't want to burn out, wear out, or give up or quit. And I know without breaks that is likely to happen. So I'll stop. I'm rambling a little bit. 21 minutes in, 22. Thanks for listening to me. Sabbath is huge. It's a big part of being a God follower. And this psalm was written specifically for the Sabbath day. Maybe you're going to make it your Sabbath psalm. Maybe when we're done, this will be the psalm you go to every Sabbath as you age and as you grow in God's grace. Well, it is Wednesday. Get your seats for Sunday. We are having a great time on Sundays, and it's safe. There's plenty of space. There's plenty of distance. There's plenty of sanitization, masks. We're not shaking hands and hugging. We're not sticking around long. I mean, it really is safe. So we would love to see you if you haven't been yet. 9, 10:30, and noon. Of course, we'll still live stream 9 and 10:30, and we'll see you tomorrow on this devotion as well. And I hope you have a great day. I hope you spend time, again, thanking God for his good work in your life today and for what he's doing. Big things are happening in the world, behind the scenes, in ways we can't see. There's a big spiritual war going on, and God's going to win. So you're on the winning side, my friend. Keep your chin up.